What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Fourth and Wrong. I'm your host, Tyler Huck. With me, as always, Chris Marler. Chris, wow, the intro video just wouldn't stop playing. Couldn't figure that out.
Can't stop, won't stop. Rockefeller Rickaskizzy or whatever it is. Welcome. How are you? Listen, we've already said it.
How many episodes is this? Because I don't know if we should count the daily shows as like in part of the serial numbering of the episodes, or is it just me and you?
Just me and you. Also, I'm wearing the same shirt as last week. No new shirt this week.
No?
No. I just didn't feel like it was warranted. So.
Well, we got a lot to discuss. Today is May 13th. It is the 10th episode of Fourth and Wrong. Today's episode, we're going to talk about the latest leak of the upcoming EA Sports college football game, discuss some boomer bust teams of 2024, and we're going to do a little Mount Rushmore season of biggest college football villains of all time.
One graphic I did not make, so what's my bad?
All good. Before we start, you can find us on Twitter at Fourth and Wrong Pod. Obviously on YouTube, you search Fourth and Wrong Podcast. You'll find us there, especially above anybody else that's got the same name.
Don't start.
We go live in the off season on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Live audience is building. I can't wait till the season. Last week we had, what was it, like 12? What was like 1,700? I can't remember.
No, it wasn't 1,700. Yeah, it was, because it was almost double the previous record. The previous record was like 984 or something like that.
So the live viewership is on its way up. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Tell a friend. Let's get started.
Like and subscribe more than anything. That's the thing that we need more than anything. Also, we're gonna stop probably soon doing the show on Twitter as well, because we're gonna try to strictly build the YouTube stuff up. So in an effort to do that, we'll probably do the next week with some lives on Twitter. But the main thing we're trying to do, like we've been saying, is build the YouTube. So please like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. That helps us out a ton. Trying to get to 1,000 for specific monetary reasons. So that would be super helpful for us to do that. Yeah. So I can get a new shirt.
We need to create some merch. Maybe some people in the chat can help us out with that at some point.
Dude, me and Evan Grimes talked a bunch this weekend. He has, I don't think this is a bad thing. I can tell. Evan, am I allowed to share the financial advice you were giving me this weekend?
Well, you were taking financial advice from somebody else besides me?
This is different financial advice.
Okay. All right.
This is, Evan was texting me prop bets for over/under goal scores in college lacrosse games this weekend.
Whoa!
Here's the thing:
hit them all.
Hit every one. He was on fire the whole weekend. It was nuts.
All right. Well, I'll have to get into that little group chat there.
Yeah.
I don't even know where do you bet that? Is it on Bovada?
I think it's on Bovada. He said, but I didn't see that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to figure that out. What's been going on, man? How was your weekend?
It was good. Mother's Day was whatever. I shouldn't say whatever. It was fun. We had a good time. Sister came in town. That was actually a lot of fun. Got to see her. I haven't seen her in a while. Good to see Frank's dad. Haven't seen him in like 8 years. So solid old school reference there. So yeah, what's up, Corbin Maddox? It was fun, man. We had a good time. We did church yesterday, and I'm trying to think of anything else. That's pretty much it, though.
The daily podcast is going really well.
Yeah.
Last week you had a bunch of good guests. JD Piquel, Garrett Chapman. Talk a little bit about Georgia Tech and some Atlanta sports.
No one enjoyed that one.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well,
I called Matt Moscona after that, and he was like, "Hey, what was your show on tonight?" And I was like, "Georgia Tech." And he was like, "Why the fuck would it have been Georgia Tech?" And I was like, "I like Georgia Tech." He's like, "No one cares about Georgia Tech." So, what's up, Willie Gray? But yeah, that was fun. Dude, I got into some deep dives. I got some good deep dives coming. What have you been up to?
Celebrated my mother as well as my sister, who has 2 kids. Went over to her house, had a good time. Played some golf this past weekend. So it was an overall enjoyable. A good meme went around of Michael Jordan playing golf and smoking a cigar, and it was like Mother's Day, and then divorced dads on Mother's Day, and then it was just Michael Jordan with a golf.
Wow. Okay. That's cool.
getting excited about the game. I got the EA Sports game that's coming on. I got a little.
Your audio just went to shit.
My audio went to shit?
Yeah.
I'll try to figure that out when you talk.
All right. I'll fill her in. Let's get this off here. Let's see here. So the EA Sports College Football 2025 cover leaked. We all love a good leak, right? We all love one, especially in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 times. You got a prostate problem, whatever. No one's here to judge you. But the 2025 EA Sports College Football, is Moscone in the chat? I was just singing your praises. No, I mean we're learning here. We're learning here. What's up, Harry Legee?
How do we sound now? Better?
You sound much better. Much better. Right. So, anyway, now I'm all nervous because Boston in the chat. But no, man, the EA Sports game cover leaked. I thought it was funny because it didn't seem. That's better.
You made it. Damn it.
This one's still there, so.
Yeah, we'll take it off for now.
so
I finally figured out how to do the pictures without having showing the rest of my computer. So
that's the next. That's the next wave. That's gonna be the next wave of things. They do love Moscona in Tallahassee because of what he said about FSU.
Not only that, but Moscona also, I believe he goes on the Jeff Cameron show, which is the daily show in Tallahassee.
Yeah,
but yeah, Moscona, good dude.
Should we have him on the Daily Show this week?
What's up?
Should we get him on the Daily Show this week? We need guests.
Who? Jeff Cameron or Moscona?
I don't know who Jeff Cameron is. You could be making that name up. That sounds like a '90s Major League Baseball second baseman. So probably not him. But no. Anyway, so the cover leaks. Right, it comes out. People are fired up over it. It was funny to me because it didn't feel like that it was on purpose. It seemed like from the response, they did not mean to do that.
Why is that? I didn't get that vibe.
Because EA Sports put out a tweet later and they were like, okay, wasn't planning on this until the 18th, but now you didn't see this tweet?
No, I saw there's a Twitter account that's I guess putting out information as they find out about it, and they're the ones that leaked this. And then I saw it on 3 was probably the first place I saw it.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it leaked before they were ready for it. I don't know.
Either way, I thought it was pretty funny. The biggest takeaway I saw, I mean, everyone's obviously pumped, right? This is everyone's pretty pumped about this. Apparently, a console or whatever only costs $300.
A PS5 or an Xbox? Yeah.
What? I mean, why did I think it was $1,000?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. That's strange. There was a tweet that went out today that says there's a deluxe version that's $150 for the game.
I was going to get to that, but yes. So okay, so here's what's funny about that is that the price is $69.99, which is very nice. We all love that. And it's already queued up. I don't know how to buy video games. I have never owned a console in my life. So
yeah, so nowadays you can actually just go you're connected to the internet on your PlayStation. I can't believe I'm having to explain this to you because this isn't a new concept, but
I'm old. Yeah.
You're connected to the internet on your PlayStation or your Xbox, and you could just go right onto a store and download it digitally. You don't have to go to GameStop. And
I knew that part. Yeah. Well,
so games that are getting ready to be released, they'll put them up there so you can pre-order. And so, they put up, I think this cover, they put up a screenshot of the game. It was Notre Dame players getting ready to run out the field.
That's sick.
People, Shedeur Sanders, upset that he wasn't on the cover.
Was he upset?
Dove Kleiman, the guy that tweets for the NFL, is sources say that Deion Sanders and Shedeur were unhappy that Shedeur wasn't on the cover. Who knows if that's real? I wouldn't be surprised. That's why I bring it up. But
there's 3 or 4 very, very prevalent and present, consistently present on my timeline, Twitter handles of it's Dov Kleiman, whatever, ML football, and there's another one, and I don't know if I believe a single thing they say. I think they're just tweeting into the abyss, but we're all eating it up. One of them, I think it was ML football, was people are pissed. Everyone's upset that Shedeur Sanders didn't make the cover, and it was who's everyone? No one. I haven't seen anybody upset. I will say I saw the price and everyone was immediately pissed about that, right? Like the $200 or $150, which is funny. We've all been talking about. It's like, dude, I'd pay $500 right now for that game. $500.
Like I wouldn't be happy if it's 150, and I know that there's different versions of all these types of games. Like you could buy Madden for $100, and you get because nowadays what these games are doing is that you collect like virtual cash, and then you can use that to like buy different stuff for your players or whatever. My guess is that's what the 150 is, but what scared me with the tweet with the screenshot of that I saw that it said release date 12/31/2024, and I freaked out. I was like, we have to wait till New Year's Eve to get this game. But apparently, when they haven't announced the release date, that's just the default that they go with.
Okay,
so a little bit better.
Well, either way, I'm excited about it. I do like the graphics look sick. The graphics do look awesome. The only thing I saw that people were pissed about was not pissed, but like the thing I saw the biggest pushback about was Donovan Edwards being the main guy front and center. Yeah, it's like this back's only got 500 yards last season and however many touchdowns, and it was like, do people just not realize that Michigan won the national championship last year? Like, my
guess is they're going to choose the team that won the championship the year before as like the main front and center going forward. In fact, I think you could have the bigger argument that I don't understand why Colorado's there. They're a 4-8 team.
Yeah, I love the fact they had Travis Hunter on there though. And I don't like as we get closer to the season, I'm gonna try to dial back my disdain for Shedeur, because I was talking to someone about this the other day. I don't even have a disdain for Dion. It's just Shedeur, like in the way he spells, or not. Well, we spelled his name wrong, so I do have some disdain for that because I mixed it up. But I mean, it's the main thing I dislike about it is just the way he carries himself, like with some of the stuff we've talked about multiple times in the show, so we don't have to get into it tonight. But Billy Daniels makes a good point. Video game inflation is less than groceries, which is painfully true. Evan Grimes makes a good point here. Wouldn't mind if Saban was on it. But the thing working against Saban on this from the beginning is the fact that I bet you down the line he will be on one. Like next year. Remember how like a couple times they would put the Heisman guy on from like 2 years prior or something. I bet he'll be on one later. But like we've been waiting 10 years for a cover. I would have almost rather than have do like a collage of like the best players over the last 10 years and hype it up that way.
Yeah. I mean, they used to have to pick old players because obviously new players couldn't be in the game or current players couldn't be in the game. So it is cool to see current players on the cover of a video game. I actually like the cover a lot. I mean, I think you can only really parse out maybe 5 players, 6. You have Quinshon. I'm trying to look at your tiny graphic. Okay. Quinshon, Travis Hunter, Donovan Edwards, Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck, Jalen Milroe. And then I don't know if you can really see anybody else's name on the back of their jersey.
So there's 6 of them you could see.
Who's the 6th one?
Ewers, Milroe, Edwards, Beck, Hunter, and Quinshon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about Jenkins? Some Ohio State love right off the bat.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Like, looking at it, I thought maybe this is going to change because one of the things they promised us, they're like, oh, we're only going to have one from each position on the different what do you call it? I mean, I think this is fine.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool. I want to get the hard copy just to have it.
Yeah, that's what Willie Gray said. Buy the hard copy, don't open it.
Well, I mean, that would be silly. I feel like if the game's gonna be back, that's not really gonna be worth much to keep it wrapped up. But I have kind of a little inkling for some content for our YouTube page to stream.
Yeah,
playing this game once it comes out. So look for that. That'll be fun. I've never streamed a game before.
I mean, I think we're gonna have to get. You know what I'll do? You're definitely gonna get it, right?
Yeah.
All right. So they're setting up a league. Jake Crane and the guys from Crane and Company are setting up a league with like CFB people, media personalities, whatever, and doing the game through there. So it's like I know Chris Phillips from SC Unfiltered, who we had on last week. A couple other guys. They asked me to be in it, but I don't have a console, so I'll get you in it, and then we can play together. Evan Grimes says we should make a Twitch account. I don't know how to say this without sounding. No one's going to believe this, but we had a Twitch account or have. I don't know. I mean,
Not anymore. Now that the we need a new one. I don't think that. I think our loyal follower Eddie Booza was the only one that actually went on the Twitch account
Really?
because I told him we had it.
I love it. Well, we got a lot of loyal followers in here tonight, plus my boss, who I'm sure is not watching anymore. But really appreciate you guys being here, and we got some pretty good stuff tonight. I'm pretty excited. We're like getting into. I thought about this today. I'm trying to break down the timeline in the best way possible. And I remember one of our friends, Bobby Burchins, did this a couple of years ago. He broke down like the way to look at the off season, and it's like spring practice, draft, Memorial Day, like July 4th, and it's like all these different things in the calendar that like signify where you are. So right now we're halfway through May, right?
Yeah, when are media days? Like
2
July.
months. Yeah,
I am really looking forward to the ACC media days, not because it's an interesting conference, but because of everything that's going on with Florida State and Clemson suing the league to get out. That's
fair.
Fun to follow.
You should apply for that.
Yeah, I should. I think it's in Amelia Island. It's not too bad of a drive.
What?
Yeah,
it's always in Charlotte. Why would it be in Amelia Island?
Is cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so here's the thing. So we have in 2 weeks, SEC baseball tournament and conference baseball tournaments, but the SEC one's always awesome. Then you get into postseason baseball. Then mid-July or mid-June to late June, we get the College World Series, which is always electric, right? Also get the Women's College World Series, which is also electric. We're not going to get into this. Bama somehow got a national seed. Don't know how that happened, but it did, which was nice. They did not deserve one whatsoever. They're also playing in the first game USC Upstate, who played against Georgia College and State University when I was there in the Peach Belt. So sign of the times of us getting old again. Anyway, so you have those two things. Once that ends, then you're like less than a month from media days. And then media days hits, and we're like in the home stretch. So I've been doing, like I said, I've been trying to ramp up some content. We got a ton of deep dives and graphics coming this way. We've been doing on the Instagram a Trivia Tuesday every week. Like we've been pumping out some good stuff. So I'm excited for this episode and everything else coming up.
Well, should we talk about our biggest boom or bust teams going into this? All right, let's see your graphic.
Well, you want to start?
Yeah, let's start. So, I'll start with. You want to start boom or bust, or just kind of switch back and forth between the two?
All right, guys, here's our top 5 boom and bust teams in the 2024 college football season. Why don't we start with the team that we both had as a boom? Okay.
Okay.
Boom. Right off the bat.
Bring it up. Utah.
Boom.
Love Utah this year.
Mm-hmm.
My reasoning: you get Cam Rising back finally after waiting every single week last year, thinking he was going to come back. I feel like with Utah, you're always going to have a nasty defense. I actually think the move to the Big 12, a Big 12 that doesn't have Oklahoma or Texas in it anymore, is probably even better for them. You have a very senior-heavy team on offense. They brought in Dorian Singer, who was a really good receiver at Arizona. I believe he transferred to USC for a year. Now he's transferred to Utah, so it's always fun.
Mm-hmm.
But my biggest thing for Utah, heavy Polynesian team. You always want to bet on the Polynesian teams.
That's fair. They got that salt, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that you closed with that.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm trying to think of what we should clip during this. I don't know. Why'd you do that? Oh, I don't know if it's that necessarily. But I also think it's like a very good point that I don't know if we're allowed to make, but it's a very good point. Look at us go. Look at this. This is the returning production from Bill Connolly, right?
Yep. So teams in bold are teams that were in last year's final AP top 20.
Mm-hmm.
So the team that returns the most production for this year's Iowa State. The team that produces the least is Air Force. So looking at it, obviously you want to be returning the most.
Thanks
so Iowa State, Stanford, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, and Rice, as Josh Pate would say, the food teams.
Oregon State at 132 is about to have a tough year because the person
talent to the portal and the draft. So they're in
and their head coach is gone.
Yes.
Which is not great. And again, that's a guy that graduated from there. That's crazy. Okay, so I always love this. I think it's really interesting. Also, shout out to Bill Connolly for being able to make this, because this is an incredibly difficult thing to keep up with like all the moving parts in college football right now. So that's something I think is like really impressive for one. So I'll tell you what, looking at this, a couple of these bus teams I have that are over here to the right. Tennessee is interesting because they're at 48%. I'm very high on Tennessee. Maybe I shouldn't be as much, but I think they're still going to be good. And a lot of that production probably is from quarterback too, which I think they still have an upgrade there. Why do that? No.
Well, I was going to see if you could put your banner at the bottom, but it's too small.
No. This will be the next wave. What we do is like working on this. Now, all right, I'm going to stick with Utah for a second. Where is Utah in here? I don't see them for shit.
They are 66% of their returning production.
Okay, so here's the thing. You brought up the fact they get Cam Rising back finally. He's like in his 8th year, and I think he's in his 7th year.
It's it's either 6th or 7th. Yeah, it's crazy.
You brought up the fact their defense is always going to be nasty. Kyle Whittingham is the most consistent coach in all of college football. And Kyle Whittingham we talk about this a lot. Like LSU had 20 or 21 straight seasons where they had 8 wins or more. I think it was 20 straight seasons, 8 wins or more. No one else in the country had done that from like 2000 to 2019. Utah, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Utah has been one of the most consistent programs in the country, to where I tell you what, the floor is so much higher than a lot of other teams. We talk about boom and bust. Utah being a bust is really difficult, I think, in any year, mainly because they get overshadowed going into each season. It's a team that played in the Rose Bowl in 3 seasons ago, went to the what do you call it? Went to the Rose Bowl after beating USC. They come back the next year and they're still somehow like they played the Pac-12 championship 2 years in a row and still somehow were counted out of it like the following year. Like I think Utah is a very good team. People forget about this, man. Utah played a lot last year with like a 3rd and 4th string quarterback, and one of them was a true freshman. So I think that is something that is all that's very interesting. The one where you could have stopped and started with. Or started and stopped.
By the way, quickly on Utah, look at that schedule, by the way.
That's the thing. Who's doing Utah this year? Tell me where you don't see 10 wins.
And 10 wins is going to get you into the playoffs.
And here's the thing, too. People also forget about this. They're playing who am I missing right now? They're playing 10 Power 5 opponents, right? Like Southern Utah and Utah State aren't in. Who's the one I'm missing right now? They can't be playing 10 Big 12 teams. Baylor, Oklahoma State, Arizona, who's in the Pac-12 or in the Big 12 this year. Arizona State, that's 4. TCU, Houston, so that's 6.
Colorado's in the Big 12. UCF's in the Big 12. Iowa State's in the Big 12.
Am I stupid?
I think they got a pretty loaded conference schedule. Southern Utah is the only team that they play that's not in the Big 12.
Yeah. And Utah State. Either way, I think that they're going to come into this. This is a traditionally top-heavy and offensive first team, and we have seen conference, and we've seen at like time and time again when Utah is out in the Pac-12, that is an offense-heavy and an offense-first conference that did not play a lot of defense except for Utah, and we saw Utah give teams fits for years and years and years, and not just in that conference. Like they did it on the big stage. Like, you can go all the way back to the Alabama game from 2008 if you want to, but they have done it at a very consistent high level, I think, and I think that they are going to be a team that'll boom. Let me give you another one, and then you go. How about that?
All right.
You can keep this around here. All right, I want you to keep this around. Who's that sitting there at 14?
Kentucky.
Kentucky is a team that I think could be a boom team. Not one of my highest, not a team that I would put the most money on, but let's bring up the graphic because I made it and spent time doing it. Team that'll boom in to 2024. I think Kentucky. Kentucky is a team. Here's a fun stat for you, Tyler. Did you know that Kentucky, of all places, they have been to 8 straight bowl games? 8 in a row.
Good for them.
That is really good for them. 8 in a row. Where'd you go? Why did you disappear?
I don't know.
All right, well, you're gone, so I can't see you at all. But they have been to 8 straight. Oh boy, now you're different. 8 straight bowl games. They have won 4 bowl games in their last 6 years. To put that in perspective, what Mark Stoops has done at Kentucky, the 4 wins in the last 6 years in bowl games, that's as many as they had in the 37 years prior to him getting the job at Kentucky. You have to go back all the way to 1976, dating back to where they've had like 4 bowl wins from 77 to the year he was hired. So I think that's really impressive. Talk about consistency in a conference that's very difficult to do so at the SEC. Road's not going to necessarily be easy, right? Like you still have that's like that. That's good. Still get Georgia, you get them early, which I do like. Ole Miss is obviously going to be tough, especially on the road. They played them on the wire last time they were there. I think you're looking at some very winnable games, though, everywhere else on here. Tennessee's going to be tough. Auburn, you get at home at least. Texas, you're just getting sent to the wood chipper. But I see 8 wins on this schedule, maybe more. And one of the reasons why is I think they're going to get back to basics with that offensive line play that they prided themselves on, the big blue wall for a long time. And then I will also say that I love the fact Billy Daniels is on fire tonight. Love that he's here. And then I will also say I love the fact that I think they're going to have a step up at quarterback. And like we have seen them play with some big names the past couple years. Will Levis, obviously last year. How am I drawing a blank? Devin Leary. I think that from a talent standpoint, Brock Vandergriff is going to be better than both those guys. And I tell you this too. Will Levis is a guy that might pop in the NFL down the road and be good because he has all the physical traits and he's going to grow into learning about the game more and being a better quarterback. But Vandergriff just feels like a type of dude that could be a very, very good college quarterback. I don't know if his ceiling is higher than that necessarily. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I don't know. But I think the ceiling for him to be a very good quarterback in college is pretty evident.
Yeah, it sounded like all reports were that he's looked pretty good in spring. So I don't know. It's hard for me to say Kentucky's a boom team, but the returning production, like we already mentioned, that does tend to be a pretty key indicator, to go along with recruiting and things like that. But especially over the last couple years when you've had all these COVID kids, to have a term that kind of sounds weird, but you've got kids that have been in programs, whether it's been the same program or different programs for 5, 6, 7 years at times. So you got 22, 23-year-old kids that are out there playing against 18, 19-year-olds. So I think it could be really good for Kentucky. We'll see. Obviously, in the SEC, when you are already starting out games with talent deficiencies compared to who you're playing, typically it's tough. But do we know their win total for next year yet?
I can bring it up real quick. Also a graphic that I'm working on today as well. Dude, I'm so fired up.
Those road games though, if you look, you get Georgia at home, but at Ole Miss, at Florida, at Tennessee, at Texas.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Bro, what's your search? Your search page looking like on YouTube or on Instagram?
Why do you ask?
So I was like, somebody was joking about this the other day, and I know what I look at on Instagram, and I know Allie's also watching. So, but I know it's not bad, but I don't know how, but mine has turned into college football content and snake stuff.
Snakes?
I watched one video on snakes, and now that's everywhere. I don't know why. Their win total is 6.5. So maybe I'm a little bit overzealous with the boom thing. I do think that 8 is going to be the floor for me. I think the ceiling could be close to the floor on this one, like I say a lot. But that's their updated one from Circus Sports today.
All right, well, I'll stay. If we're talking boom teams still, I will stay in the SEC, and I'm going to go with Missouri.
Boom.
I love what they return on offense. There's a little bit of retooling they need to do on the offensive line. I was looking at their PFF grades from last year and also their snaps, and I think they lose their top 3 O-linemen, which is tough. But they do return Brady Cook, Luther Burden, Mookie Cooper, Theo Weiss, Marquise Johnson. They lose Cody Schrader, but I don't know. I didn't know much of Schrader before last year anyways. Was he like always like a big time player for them? I think maybe
he was their leading running back from the year before, but I think he only had like 700 yards and 7 touchdowns, something like that. Like the thing with Mizzou is 3 times in the last 5 or 6 years, they've had a guy who has been there forever and leads the team in rushing. It leads like the SEC in rushing. Schrader did it last year. 2 years ago, it was – hold on, I'll pull it up real quick because I talked about this with I think it was with Chris Gordy a couple weeks ago. This is SEC leading rushers, right? Obviously, Schrader led last year. And I'm not taking anything away from him when I say this, but a lot of that also is because of the fact that he started getting a ton of carries late in the year because what do you call it? Luther Burden was hurt. Luther Burden's production was cut in half from the first 6 games to the last 6 games. He was averaging 119 yards per game the first 6 games. I think he had 7 of his 12 touchdowns. And then he had, going to the last 6 games, he was averaging like 59 or 60 yards receiving per game. But Mizzou has had Cody Schrader, then they had Tyler Beatty, if you remember this, in 2021. And then before that, it was Larry Roundtree, who didn't lead the SEC in rushing, but he was top 5.
Right. So my point is I think you could pretty much plug and play running backs into that system. You got all your best receivers coming back. You obviously have your senior quarterback coming back. And more than anything, look at their schedule, dude. For an SEC schedule, Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College to start the year. Then they get Vandy. Got to go to A&M, which is tough. But I think, first year Mike Elko, this is the year you want to catch them on the road, I would think. At UMass.
What the fuck is that? What is that?
I don't know.
Why are we playing so many Boston teams? You got UMass and Boston College in a non-hockey schedule. I don't get it, but
yep, you've got Auburn at home. Got to go on the road to the Alabama, Oklahoma, at South Carolina, at Mississippi State, Arkansas. Like that's outside of the Oklahoma, Alabama, and A&M game. I feel like the rest of the schedule is almost like you would expect them to win those games.
And I'm pretty sure that Bama game is like sandwiched between Tennessee and someone. Like that's a tough spot. Like Harry Legee gets it as usual. Says they have a pillow fight schedule, but not Stay Puft Soft like Ole Miss. Honestly, both of those teams have a very soft schedule, and it's crazy because it's in the SEC. Like if you look at the schedule, the 3 easiest schedules I think that stand out to me from right off the bat: Mizzou, Ole Miss, and Texas. And I think that all of those teams could theoretically take a step back, especially Texas. But the schedule is so easy. And they do have a lot of talent. The thing with Mizzou, man, is like Theo Weiss was awesome last year. How much are they going to focus Luther Burden how much of a focal point is Luther Burden going to strictly be on offense? Because you had a nice balance last year, man. Theo Weiss did really well. We've been waiting for Mookie Cooper to pop for like 3 years now. That's a former Ohio State commit. He's a 4-star out of high school, like a really talented kid. So is he going to be able to pop? Brady Cook in year 2.5 as the starting quarterback? I mean, we should see a lot of growth there. I think the thing with those teams that makes me so skeptical and up and down on them is Mizzou, Ole Miss, Texas. They kind of overachieved last year in comparison to the other years. Keep in mind, Mizzou didn't have a winning season under Drinkowitz until last year, and they go, they get 11 wins and beat Ohio State in the New Year's Six Bowl. Like Ole Miss hasn't really stacked seasons back to back with 10 wins. They didn't have 10 wins prior year before that. They get 11 last year, and they beat Penn State in the New Year's Six Bowl. Texas obviously makes the playoff. All 3 of those teams, as much as I think they're going to potentially take a step back, they all have very favorable schedules, and they all have quarterbacks that have been starting for over 2 years.
Yep. And if you look here, out of the teams that were ranked in the final AP poll of last year, Missouri has the second most returning production out of any of them at 71% returning production. So I know Missouri was good last year, and I know Willie Gray here in the chat said, not necessarily a boom team. They were good last year, but I think they could be even better this year. And with that schedule, I mean, I think it's very, very likely that they could find their way into the college football playoff, which would be awesome for a Missouri program that hasn't really had a ton of that type of success.
Yeah. All right. Is it my turn?
It is your turn.
I'll tell you a team that's going to literally boom.
Oh, boomer.
Boomer. Oklahoma's a team I think that could boom. Okay. Pull up the schedule, Tyler. It's very difficult. I will also tell you, I have them on here because they have 7.5 wins. Is their current what do you call it? Is their current? You're killing it, by the way, on this tonight.
Win total.
Great job. Is their win total? Now, all right, win. Now let's not forget that Houston is now a Power 5 team. This is not. This is a very difficult schedule. Tulane has been very good the past couple of years. They do have a new head coach, so it's not going to be at the same. But you got 10 Power 5 games, or at least you get 9 because they play Maine. All right, slow down here. So you open SEC play. Your first start, your very beginning of your SEC era. You get Tennessee at home with your former national championship quarterback coming back at Auburn, which is most likely going to be a night game, I would think. And then you get, because isn't that the same day? That's the same day as Bama, Georgia. Oh, so you'll be a day game. It'll be a day game, 3:30. But you're on the road at Auburn. Then you get a week off and you get Texas. Now they beat Texas last year. They've beaten them a bunch. South Carolina at home. At Ole Miss is going to be tough. Maine should be easy. I tell you what, keep scrolling down. They closed the season. With on paper, one of the most difficult. I mean, they have 2 stretches that you could argue are some of the most difficult in the league with Tennessee, Auburn, and Texas. And you close with at Mizzou, Bama, and at LSU. I think Mizzou's going to have that game circled on their calendar more than any other game this season. Those 2 fan bases do not like each other. I will also tell you this. They have all the components. I'll bring up the production thing if you don't mind. They have all the components for me to potentially be better than people think. Because right now, I think a lot of people are kind of looking at them like, I mean, I don't know why they're kind of an afterthought. They play a very difficult schedule. But there's a reason. And I'm going to preemptively die on this hill. There has to be a reason. 65% returning production, by the way. Yep. There has to be a reason that Bill Venables, going into his first
Brent or Bill,
both of them really. Bill Venables as a kid, I was
Bill Venables is one of my all-time favorite coaches, though. To be honest, I mean,
I graduated high school with a kid named Bill Venables, and I remember meeting him in like 7th grade. I was like, "There's no fucking way this kid's name is Bill Venables." Like that is a 43-year-old man since he was 12 years old. Shout out to Bill Venables.
when he was 2 years old, they're going, "Oh, cute little Bill Venables here.
How you doing, brother?" Hell of a day. Hell of a first day at Tender Care.
Popping a beer.
How was your first day at Kids Are Kids? It's fantastic. Anyway.
Bunch of liberals in that place, tell you what.
Okay. Anyway. Brent Venables. There's a reason why Brent Venables was okay with letting Dylan Gabriel go. I'm not sold on Dylan Gabriel being this like top 5 quarterback in college football. I'm just not. Maybe he will be because in that system he could be good and they've got a lot of talent up there. He's got Evan Stewart, whatever. There's a reason why Brent Venables going into year 1 was like, it's okay. See you later. Jackson Arnold, your freshman quarterback a year ago, one of the top quarterbacks in the country coming out of high school, 5-star. I think he's a dual threat guy. Jackson Arnold is going to have some growing pains, but he has a year in the program. They've got talent at the skill position. Oklahoma is a team that has built their team like an SEC team. I remember saying this when Spencer Rattler went from Oklahoma to South Carolina, right? We talk about the big bag SEC and it's built in the trenches and all that kind of stuff. Missouri's front 7 is going to be good, right? Like that linebacking core is going to be really, really good. But when you talk about the offensive line, I remember when Spencer Rattler left from from Oklahoma to go to South Carolina, I said the biggest problem he's going to have is the fact that it's not the people he's going to throw to. It's not him from a talent standpoint or even the schedule. When he was at Oklahoma, during his time there, they had 11 offensive linemen that were ranked 4 stars or better. When he got to South Carolina, they had 1. I think they ended up with only 2 or 3. So they have built that offensive line in a way that is able to withstand, I think, some of the trench warfare you're going to have in the SEC. And I think that is important going into a year like this.
No doubt. I was looking at Oklahoma as well. I was deterred because of the schedule. But I think Jackson Arnold's going to eventually be an upgrade from Dylan Gabriel. Maybe not week 1, but, former 5-star talent. I think it says everything in the world that Bill Venables basically decided, hey, don't need Gabriel anymore. We're going to go with Jackson Arnold. He's our guy.
Oh, Bill Brasky.
Now, I've got an interesting team. I wanted to kind of go off the map here with my last boom team. Didn't want to do all SEC. Didn't want to do teams that we've all talked about.
And just so everyone knows, his bus team it's everyone you would think it would be. Just so everyone's clear.
It's Florida, Miami, and Clemson. Yeah. SMU. So SMU is 11th in the country in returning production, as we see here on the chart here from Bill Connolly. 78% of their production returning. Their quarterback position, I will say, Preston Stone didn't play the entire season last year, but last year they had 4,000 yards passing. People don't remember that they're probably because no one cares. They're in the SEC now, or ACC.
Yeah.
So they have a little bit more. They're in a Power 4 conference. They have a little bit more legitimacy to them. And again, look at their schedule. They've got Nevada, Houston Christian, BYU, TCU, Florida State at home. Their ACC schedule. So they start with Florida State and go to Louisville. That's tough.
November 30th. Mark your fucking calendars, brother.
Stanford, Duke, Pitt, Boston College, Virginia, and Cal.
Only 2 of those games are on the road. And it's Virginia and Duke.
All the worst teams in the ACC.
Yeah. And listen, again, Duke has been okay the past couple of years, but all that's gone because that quarterback is gone, and so is that head coach. Virginia is a team that could be improved, but because they were so bad.
Yeah. And look at the ticket prices there. You could go to the BC game for $9.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, I've said this a bazillion times. It's unfathomable to me. I would walk up to Bobby Dodd on a Thursday night or a Saturday during Cupcake Week for the SEC, and they'd be playing Virginia, and the tickets were never more than $14.
Yep. Rhett Lashley, I think, is a really good coach.
Yeah.
Chris, quiz, because I think for me at least, I get very confused as to who is playing where these days.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who Duke's starting quarterback is this year?
Oh, I do. It's the kid from Texas.
It is Malik Murphy.
Yeah. That's a very interesting move.
Yeah, kind of a random fit. So if you want to go see Malik Murphy and the Blue Devils at home against SMU, $33. It's all it takes.
All right, all jokes aside, scroll back up for a second.
Okay.
What's up, C. Rich? I'm drinking a Celsius. I probably should not be.
Water.
Only my first one of the day.
Mm.
I know. I'm trying to quit.
Come on, buddy.
Nevada, that's a win. Houston Christian, that's a win. Odd to me that there's a Houston Christian and a Dallas Baptist, but whatever. Mm-hmm. And also a Texas Christian. They are going to beat the shit out of some Christians. We're going to see some real Pontius Pilate stuff out of this offense early on in the season. Oh my God! Hold on. Does SMU hate religion?
Southern Methodist, though,
dude. BYU, their first 4 games: Houston Christian, Brigham Young, and Texas Christian,
and they're Southern Methodist. So
wild. I am
Catholics up there.
I'm very high on Rhett Lashley. Not as high as my girlfriend was on him when she was in college, but I will say huge crush on the Lashinator. But I will say that I think that the way this will play out, Louisville's a game where you could probably lose, right? I can go to an SMU game or buy a can of Zen. I gotta get on the Zen train.
Hey, it's Zens these days. I'm telling you, unless you do 3 milligrams, 6 milligrams, not on the gas station shelves these days.
Compare what that would mean versus Adderall milligrams, and I'll try to figure out what.
Well, it's just simple. It's you either take 10 milligrams of Adderall or you can take 30. Which one's going to be more effective?
You could probably take more.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to this though, Boston College, that's a win. They could be better. I don't know, but like all these teams,
they lost their head coach.
The one thing that's so
who's their head coach?
What?
You know who Boston College's new head coach is, right?
Uh-huh.
Old Bill O'Brien himself.
Oh shit. Oh, Bill Venables O'Brien.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Brent O'Brien.
That's gonna be our thing this year. We're just gonna 3-year Letterman our way into the entire. That's what we should do at media days. Hey, excuse me, Kirk Smart. Listen, here's a question for you. So,
well, Kirk Dumb, am I right?
so Cal, them closing with Cal sucks. But I will also say this in favor of SMU, and then we probably should get off because I am confident we don't have a big SMU following. But Barrett Sallee brought this up a couple weeks ago on the live show, the Friday morning one. He's very high on SMU. I do think that in this day and age, offense is going to be something that plays a bigger part in what do you call it?
Don't get distracted, Chris.
Sorry, a bigger part in winning more games than defense will. And then here's the other part too, is that I don't think that SMU, I understand they didn't want to miss the train or whatever. I have a hard time believing those boosters would have put that much money into it for them to go into this league and get their ass beat.
Yeah. No, I think they're going to be one of the better teams in the ACC, especially when Florida State and Clemson leaves, if the ACC exists.
Yeah.
All right, should we get into some of our bust teams for the year?
Yeah, you want me to start?
Yeah.
I only have 2.
Okay.
Dude, why are we talking about Michigan like they're going to be anywhere close to where they were a year ago?
They lose a lot, including Jim Harbaugh.
They lose 13 players to the draft. They lose their head coach. They lose one of the coordinators. They lose Connor Stallions, which is a pretty big deal. Like, go pull up the schedule for me real quick. Hold on. Let me get this out of the way.
All right.
Where are they at here? 36%. They're 130th. They are the 5th fewest, or they return the 5th least amount of production from last year this year. And I tell you what, if you look at this every year and you see Bama, who was I think 128 or something like last year, Georgia's traditionally down there. All those things, right? You see teams like that. We see those teams reload every year, and the reason why we see those teams reload every year is because they recruit like madmen all offseason and every single year, and you see those teams in the top 3 year over year over year. Let me tell you where Michigan has been the past couple of years. Okay, they just won a national championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't finish the top 10 class. They actually finished with they didn't finish the top 15 class. They finished with the 16th ranked class last season, right? How about a year before? Year before, they finished with the 17th ranked class. So I'm like, it's not the fact that they had the 9th ranked class a couple years ago with a 5-star, but I'm pretty sure that 5-star was I believe it's J.J. McCarthy, a quarterback, but I could be wrong about that. Either way, I feel like in years past, it was Iyabi Okeanoma, who transferred to Michigan. He was originally a Bama guy, and then he never played. Like they have some players on that team that could pop, right? Like I think Anthony Orji could be a great quarterback, but even Harbaugh said last year he has a ways to go. They lose so much fucking talent off last year's team. You get Texas at home in week 2. Let's not forget that Fresno State, by the way, going into last season was like 12-4 against the spread in games against a Power 5 competition or against the Pac-12. Like, they're not going to lose to them. And of course, like we see every year, they don't have to leave the state. They don't have to leave the state in the month of September. They never do. They never do. If you think I'm kidding about that, for the first time they left the state of Michigan in the month of September since 2020 or 2019 was last year to go to Nebraska on the last day of the month. So it's a joke that like every single year's schedule. Minnesota is a very well-coached team. I mean, Illinois, whatever, they're going to lose to Texas at home, right? I think that's guaranteed. And just the big house during the day is just not going to intimidate Texas, I don't think, going into that game. You don't get any of the cold, none of that kind of shit. USC at home, talk me out. Tell me why USC is going to lose that game.
If USC was that bad with Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick, how good are they going to be this year? I don't know.
How about the talent around him, though? I mean, so Washington, they might beat on the road, but it's a road game in a very tough environment. It's also a team that is going to be really well coached. You saw it with Jed Fish in year 1 in Arizona. Illinois, you get Brett Bielema. All of these teams, Tyler, have made some sort of like they have upgraded in some way in the offseason. Ohio State, that's a loss.
Isn't it nice? Just as a side point, isn't it nice to see Michigan's schedule filled with many good teams on it rather than just Ohio State and Penn State?
Yeah.
Like you've got still Ohio State, but you've got at Washington, Oregon, you've got USC, Texas. I mean, that is awesome. Like that is a great schedule.
I will tell you this too.
Not great when you're trying to replace so much.
I think that they could get into the playoff with a 10-win season, right? I don't see 10 wins on that schedule. You're losing to Oregon. You're losing to Texas. You're definitely losing to Ohio State. And here's the other thing, too. You've got a first-year starting quarterback and a first-year head coach with a first-year – like half of the coaching staff is gone. And, again, this is not Georgia. This is not Bama. They do not replace this. They're not familiar with having to replace all that talent, all that coaching, all that in general, right? Like this is a team that last year had one of the best defenses we've seen in the last probably 10 to 20 years. Statistically speaking, it was one of the best in the last 10 years of college football, right up there. It wasn't right up there with Georgia from 2021. No one was. But it was statistically one of the best in the last decade. You lose a ton of talent from that. And I know they got a lot coming back. Like they got a couple first-round guys there. But you don't replace 13 NFL draft picks at Michigan with 16 and 17 ranked recruiting classes. And you definitely don't replace that. First-year head coach with that schedule, dude, they're in trouble.
I agree. Another team that actually played them in the national championship game is Washington. And they are on my team of biggest bust this year. They've got a lot to overcome. They lose a ton. I don't know if you guys heard, but their starting quarterback was drafted 8th overall in the draft.
All 3 receivers got drafted too.
Yeah, so they had they're missing a ton. If we go back to our handy dandy returning production, they're right down there with Michigan, 40%, 126th in the country out of 134 teams. They lose their coach, Kalen DeBoer, who was a hot topic, of course, in the offseason by going to Alabama. I do like Jed Fish a ton, who they replaced him with. He did great things at Arizona. But you just lost too much, I think, to really make to do anything like you did last year. Now let's look at their schedule.
That September 14th game is so weird.
Yeah,
look at the price, by the way.
Game. Think about how much rage Washington State's going to be playing with in that game. Now, I don't know how good they're going to be. They lost Cam Ward, but
dude, same day as Oregon State, and that's going to be a bloodbath. But still,
yeah. Now their schedule to start out, you're probably thinking, well, look, I mean, Weber State, Eastern Michigan, Washington State, Northwestern, Rutgers. Cool pick for a bus team. But then we get down here, and this is where it gets a little tough, Chris. Michigan at Iowa, which that's just going to be.
That's going to be a nightmare. 13-11.
At Indiana, then you go USC, at Penn State, UCLA, at Oregon to end the year.
Now, they can coach their way to a win against Indiana. But let's also remember, I said every team upgraded. Indiana has Kirk Cignetti, the guy from James Madison who was on Saban's staff, who's a good coach, right? I'm with you on this one, man. I think this is what's their win total?
I'm gonna rely on you for that.
Oh yeah,
but I'm not sure. The Apple Cup is not typically played on a neutral site, correct? I see here that the Washington State game is played at a neutral location this year.
Where would it be?
No idea.
Hold
on. So I just think Washington coming off of last year is due for a little bit of a tough run, but
I can see that.
We'll see what Jed Fish
does. This game.
I'm going to do another one before you get to yours.
It says at Lumen Field. Oh, so they're playing it where the Seahawks play.
Okay, so they're playing.
I want you. I'll close it out. I think these last two are going to be interesting because I don't agree with your first one. Oh wait, no, you got 2 more.
Do you not agree with this one?
No, I don't.
So Notre Dame, my big thing here is they lose. I don't know about Riley Leonard. Like I like Riley Leonard when he's healthy, but he wasn't available for the spring game. I don't know how healthy he's going to be. And his offensive line, remember Joe Alt was taken top 5, and then there are
and
other
the right tackle.
Yeah, their other tackle was taken in the second round. So they have a lot to replace on the O-line during the spring. It seems like they had a lot of issues there. And I just think, given the schedule that they play every year, which, when you're, I guess, a pseudo member of the ACC, but then you play kind of an open schedule in a sense. They host Louisville. They host Florida State. They got an up-and-coming Georgia Tech team. They got to travel to A&M, to USC.
Schedule. What are you doing? What's wrong with you?
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. I'll just not run the whole show for us. Notre Dame, bust team. Bama, bust. I agree.
Where you were. No, you just ruined the surprise. Everyone's going to be shocked when they hear me talk bad about Alabama.
Yeah.
I wasn't really paying attention until you said up-and-coming Georgia Tech team. And then I was like, hold on, what?
You don't think Georgia Tech's an up-and-coming team? You just had a full podcast.
It's not the up I'm concerned with. It's the.
Go ahead.
No, I do think they're going to be good. But I mean, but hold on, aren't they playing them in Atlanta or something stupid?
I believe it's a neutral site game.
That sucks. I'm pretty sure it's in Atlanta instead. Okay. I mean, but anyway, go ahead.
You go to A&M. You got Louisville, who I think Louisville beat them last year, correct?
Probably.
Yeah.
Louisville beat everyone last year.
Yep. Georgia Tech, neutral site. Florida State at USC. I just think that when you talk about not being in a conference and trying to make the playoffs, I mean, if you lose those games and you have 4 losses, you're probably not going to lose to Georgia Tech, let's be honest. But if it is in Atlanta,
yeah,
even if it's neutral site, I don't know. When I was taking a look at this exercise that we went through, Chris,
yeah,
I thought maybe Notre Dame, because I was looking at a kind of like post-spring top 25 on CBS Sports,
right?
And they had Notre Dame at like number 9.
I don't
know.
Okay, so I get that point. I definitely get that point. Scroll up a little bit for me. I think they beat A&M. I think they win those next 2 games for sure. And I fucking hate Notre Dame's schedule so much. Louisville could be tough, but you get them at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
The toughest game they're going to have is against an A&M team with a brand new head coach, a quarterback coming off an injury, a ton of people they lost to the portal. One thing I will say this too, side note on this, A&M has odds to make the playoff this year. And if you look at, I threw this out here last week. I made a graphic for it, of course, and it was the SEC teams with the best odds to make the college football playoff. And it was Georgia, then Texas, Ole Miss, LSU, Bama, Mizzou, Tennessee, and then A&M. And A&M, their odds to not make it were only negative or minus 300. I think that might be the best value of all those plays.
To not make the playoffs, minus 300?
The odds are, it's like 3-1, so there's like a lot of juice on that, but I still think that's the best play. All right, back to this. You get a week off before you play Florida State. You get them at home. Again, you play Navy at a neutral site. I'm sure it's fucking Baltimore or Camden Yards or something stupid.
I love that they play Navy and Army.
And they still somehow got Stanford. They still somehow got Stanford on this list. I'm telling you right now, I would rather watch another thing on my Instagram page. It's these 2 fucking nerd-ass couples that are married, but they're probably still virgins, and they just play dude perfect games by themselves all day. It actually sounds kind of awesome. I would rather watch Notre Dame play Stanford in that for 3 hours than watch them play football. For real. Like, Stanford's awful. I'm not on this one, but I will say, 11 new comments. But I will say that I think that I see what you're saying. They could potentially be for a bust based on the criteria we said.
Yep. This is an interesting point here by Willie Gray too. Don't the 4 conference winners get the 4 spots? So Notre Dame could be ranked number 1 and go into the playoffs as the 5 seed.
I believe he's right on that. But we did this earlier. in the offseason. I will dive into
not a bad place to be, by the way.
Huh?
The 5 seed is not a bad place to be because you're going to host a playoff game against likely a G5 opponent. So, I mean, and then I think in
at home.
What's that?
At home.
Yeah, right. So, and then in the second round, I think you would get the winner of what? I don't know.
How, I can't wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
But I've said this before, and I do firmly believe it. Those teams, like the two teams that I think that will benefit the most, more than any other team in the country out of this new model for the playoff, is Notre Dame and Penn State. Because those are two teams, especially Penn State, that are going to just chronically be top 15, more than likely top 10 ranked teams. They have played schedules that are, we see it every year. It's like it is the most fool's gold bullshit imaginable. And it's like, yeah, sure, we played Navy and Army. Hold on. Sure, we played Navy and Army. We did it on a neutral site. 2024 schedule. I think it was smart of them to schedule A&M, because that's going to be, I think, tougher than people think. But those games. So yeah, I was right. They're playing Navy at East Rutherford in New Jersey. God damn it! And they're playing Army at Yankee Stadium. I fucking hate Notre Dame so much.
All right, let me touch on my last one, and then we'll get to yours. Clemson, bus team. It purely has to do with the fact that they refused to bring anyone in from the portal. They lost 12 players, didn't bring anybody in via the portal. They lost some guys to the draft, like Will Shipley. And they still have Klubnik, who I'm not a big fan of, and I haven't been a fan of the receiver core for a while.
Yeah.
And I just think that their trajectory, as compared to other teams in the conference and other teams across the country, isn't the same because of Dabo's refusal to adapt to modern times. So I'm just going to put them on a list like this until they decide to do something different.
I don't think that's wrong. Tyler, you know Notre Dame only plays 3 true road games this year.
Nice.
At Kyle Field, at Purdue, at USC. They don't have a true road game from September 21st to November 23rd. They play 3 neutral site games. They play Georgia Tech at Mercedes-Benz, Navy at MetLife, and they play Army at Yankee Stadium. They will play as many neutral site, or I'm sorry, they will play almost as many like neutral site games in New York as they will true road games. I hate them so much. I'm with you on Clemson, man. I just don't see where they're going to have this huge improvement. I think Klubnik could be good. I think that this is a team that everyone's caught up with. Like whether it's like a Dan Mullen type thing where it's like, he was able to do this for a long time and get all these great players to come in. And I just don't think that the way he is, I don't think that he is going to be able to keep up with everyone any more than NIL. Now that cheating is legal, and Clemson wasn't like void of doing any of that, right?
The churches, we know.
The churches for sure. But I mean, like we see it's different than places like Georgia, where it's like, I saw a stat last week that Graham Coffey came up with, and it was like the talent evaluation of Georgia, like for NFL draft players based on high school rankings, 3 stars, 4 stars, and 5 stars. And it was like where most of them went in the draft, or like how many percentage of them being drafted, like in general, and then percentage of them being drafted if they weren't from Georgia, right? And it was higher across the board for Georgia players than it was everywhere else in the country. Clemson is Evan Grimes is right. It's going to be a bloodbath in Atlanta. I think that's a horrible game for Clemson. Yeah. It's a horrible game for Clemson to play Georgia in that setting. And I think that this is the year that all of us have been waiting on with Dabo, where I think he's finally going to crack, because they're just not very good.
Smart-ass kid, get on this phone and create this stuff. There ain't one thing in my life that I've ever failed at, Tyler. Never.
Tyler. All right, you ready for the last one before we get to our Mount Rushmore?
No, we got to go through your last team, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead.
What did I say about Michigan? What was the reason why I said Michigan was probably going to take a step back?
Well, they don't recruit at a high enough level to be able to reproduce year over year what they did.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is that what you're saying about the next team?
No, it's not. That's the one thing I was hoping you wouldn't bring up about what I said. Michigan will not be as good because the schedule's pretty tough. It's tougher than years past. Let's keep in mind, Michigan didn't play a ranked team until November 11th last year, or like a week 11, I mean. They lose their head coach. They lose half of their coaching staff, and they lose a ton of talent to the NFL. Does that sound familiar to any other team that you can think of? Alabama goes into this year. Once the season gets closer, I'm sure I'll talk myself into why they can be good. And they can be, right? The loss of production isn't even as bad as I thought, right? You're ranked 100th. But here's the deal. This schedule is a nightmare, right? South Florida, I almost put them as one of my boom teams because they could be a team that arguably makes the playoff from the G5 thing. We've seen it from Brad Crawford. I keep talking about it every week. Wisconsin game is going to be tough. Then you get into the SEC play.
People forget last year it was a close game against USF.
It was. There was a point in the fourth quarter. I told my friends, I was like, I don't know how this has happened, but this has become a we just need to get out of here type game. Georgia is going to be a loss. I think the next two are wins. Dude, this 3-game stretch here, you can't afford to look past South Carolina, who I don't think is going to be good, but like they could also be a team that gives you some fits. Pepper stop with Honora Sellers and Nick Harbor. So at Tennessee, I think is a loss. Missouri at home is going to be tougher than they brought it up earlier, dude. All that talent that Missouri has at receiver, Bama's secondary is young at best and thin at best. Like it is, they need so much help. They need so much. That is a team that lost 39 total players to the portal. 39. And losing 39 players from Alabama is different than any other team in the country because the level of player that they lost is different than every other team. You just brought it up. Like that they finished top 3 in recruiting every single year. And they have lost 39 players from just this year, right? And I think they've lost double digits for the defensive backs. LSU on the road. You lost there last time. Now, listen, historically speaking, they should go in there and dominate. But I don't love that. I don't love that with a first-year head coach. DeBoer's never walked in anything like that. Oklahoma on the road is going to be tough, and then you get Auburn at home. Now, you should be able to win. The over-under, I think, is 9.5. And you need to win 10 to get to the playoff. And if they win 10, they will make the playoff because of how tough that schedule is. But Evan Grimes says, I think Ryan Williams is going to hit. He better. He fucking better. You need him to. I think they're going to be really good on offense. I think the front 7 on defense is going to be good. I think they have the tools there to be good. But this schedule, man, Georgia, you are going to exit September with a loss again, which is something that's very difficult to finish. Dude, like that game before Georgia, like how do you what's Wisconsin going to look like? They're going to be well coached. We know that.
On the road, it looks like you do get a bye though.
Yeah, we do get a bye for Georgia, and the Wisconsin game is 11 a.m., which is thank God because you do not want to be playing that as a night game. I mean, like. At best case scenario, your first 6 games, you're 5-1, and you better be, because you need to be 5-1 for the first 6. You need to go at least. You need to probably go 3-1, and then the next 4. Like, it's just a tough stretch, man. There's just so many. There's multiple games on here where I'm like, all right, if you gave me 10 wins, I can tell you the 2 losses I think where that are for sure going to happen, in my opinion. Georgia and Tennessee. That's where I think they lose those 2 games at. 2 ridiculous environments, right? Now you're saying that you can't lose at Wisconsin. You can't lose to a Missouri team that's ranked in the top 10. You can't lose to an LSU team on the road in the toughest environment in all of college football to a top 15 team. Better not lose at Oklahoma. That's a top 20 team. And then you better not lose against Auburn, who has taken you down to the wire in 2 of the last 3 games. It fucking sucks. This could be the year that they legit go 8-4, 7-5. I will KMS.
That'd be tough to see for everybody.
I'm gonna lose so many more Twitter accounts if that happens, Evan.
All right, that is. We went long on that. We're an hour and 11 in. So let's get to our quick college football villains. I had fun with this.
Mount Rushmore. I'll make a graphic for this later, and I should have made one already. That's my fault.
We shared one on our list, and that was Sir Cam Newton.
Mm-hmm. Well, give me your 4.
So Cam Newton, Brian Bosworth.
So real quick, Mount Rushmore of college football villains over the last since 1980s. Is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. All
right. So I was not old enough to really appreciate the Brian Bosworth era, but from everything I've seen, the documentaries, that dude was a real piece of shit.
Just openly taking steroids. No one cared.
Cam Newton, I lived through that one for sure. Just like many people felt about Jameis Winston, I'm sure. I felt that way about Cam Newton.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that are outside of Auburn really were not fans of Cam Newton. Everything going on off the field with all the allegations of the donations to churches and all that kind of stuff, and the winning, really. Winning in the face of all the
6
adversity.
games decided by 7 points or less, multiple comebacks.
Yeah,
dude, I have never been more consumed with, and I mean that word to the most literal sense. I have never been. This is saying something. I've never been a more unhealthy person in my life than I was in 2010 during that football season. It consumed almost everything about me.
I had never cared one way or the other about Auburn, and I really hated him that year. Bobby Petrino, just for everything that he's ever done in the course of his career. And then not a football player or a coach, but a fan, Harvey Updike. That guy's a villain. He's in jail.
He's dead.
Or he was in jail.
Yeah. He's not in heaven, I'm sure. He's a piece of shit. I tell you one thing that does bother me, and Bama fans get mad at me about this all the time. I don't think the tree thing is funny. I just don't. Because it's like I always say this, ad nauseum. Like, I just love college football so much. I love the traditions. I love all that kind of stuff. And Auburn is a cool place. I love making fun of them. Like the cult, creed, all that kind of shit. But, dude, he poisoned those trees because he saw on a Bama message board that they rolled Toomer's Corner the day Bear Bryant died. And then come to find out, Tyler, after a simple Google, didn't happen. Just didn't happen. Love that. All right, my Marler Mount Rushmore of the biggest villains in college football in the last 40 years. Cam Newton, for one. Jameis Winston, 2. And I understand that we don't see eye to eye on this, but in my entire life, I didn't live through the U in the 80s and all that kind of stuff, especially with how race was back then and people weren't as tolerant about shit. I could see how people would have hated him more, but you also don't have as much exposure with college football in the 80s. Jameis Winston in 2014, I have never seen a more united front. I'm talking about like George Bush throwing the first pitch out at Yankee Stadium after on September 12th. Like, that was the level of united that the entire country was hating Jameis Winston.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Unbelievable.
I'll never forget watching the 2014 Florida State-Miami game. We were on the ropes just like we were in every game that year.
Yeah.
Miami was like going to score, and Jalen Ramsey picks off one of their passes essentially in the game. And the sound of Chris Fowler's voice, the disappointment, he goes, "Oh, Jalen Ramsey caught." He was just so sad. He was so sad.
Dude, everyone wanted it. And like, dude, the 2013 team, you and I talked about this, like we settled it on this show. We thought that it was like, oh man, like I remember saying like 2013 Bama is one of the best teams that never won a championship. And you were like, dude, nobody was beating FSU that year. Like Auburn came close, but like every single starter got drafted. I saw this graphic making like the rounds of the day. In the college football playoff and BCS era, they have the highest margin of victory of any team in the playoff era. And if you want to sit here and immediately say, well, they didn't play anybody. They played more ranked teams than 2018 Clemson. And we talk about 2018 Clemson like they're the fucking greatest ever. So 2013 FSU was awesome. 2014 was awful. It was so
like we went undefeated in the regular season, and it was like the worst, most painstaking season I've ever gone through.
You guys got blown out in the Rose Bowl. Everyone was happy about it.
Yeah, everyone.
Jameis didn't even get invited to New York for the Heisman, I don't think, because he had 25 touchdowns and 19 interceptions.
Yeah.
The moment that sticks out to me more than anything, you guys are playing Clemson Saturday night, 8 p.m., and he's suspended for the game because he jumped up on that table in the student union and said whatever. And he's not supposed to dress out. And he comes out in full uniform. And Jimbo Fisher just looked so defeated. He was like, why are you – what? Like – and he's like, we all love Jameis now. It's like –
oh, yeah.
But at the time
– but he just didn't do himself any favors.
No.
I will say Jimbo was on Pardon My Take a couple of weeks ago. I think it was like January. And they asked him about that. And he said it wasn't Jameis's fault. He was supposed to be suspended for a half, and then the school made Jimbo suspend him for the full game the night before. But the equipment manager put all his gear in the locker because they just – I don't know if they got the memo, but they thought he was going to play the second half. So he dressed out, and Jimbo's like, talk about a guy who has no control over his program.
It's for real. Yeah, I love that you found a way to bring it back to it being his fault for sure. No, so first two, Cam Newton, Jameis Winston, easily. 3, Saban. I never realized how much people hated Nick Saban until the past couple of years. I think part of the reason why it's finally hit me is because I've finally seen firsthand on social media how much people hate his daughter just for her having the same last name, and it's crazy to me because and it's also crazy because I've been at this place as a fan before. I know when I was a kid I was like this for sure, but it's crazy to me the absolute truths people have convinced themselves of about Nick Saban that are message board shit, things that they have said to cope and justify losing, and it just cracks me up. But I would say Saban, because I mean he really did. He ruled college football with an iron fist for fucking ever. I do. Evan Grimes brings it up. I love retired Nick. I think it's cool that people are now able to see, dude, Saban's not a bad guy. He does care about his players. He always has. Like, he's a good dude at a heart level, and he's actually fun to watch. So there you go. Those are my first 3, and then 4. I copped out on this one, but my hatred for them will never cease. The NCAA. The NCAA for sure. Like, I don't think there's been a bigger villain to their own sport than the NCAA has been. So my 4, Saban, Cam Newton, the NCAA, and Jameis Winston.
I'll be interested to see how long the NCAA lasts at this point. But I agree. All right, that's the end of the show. As always, we appreciate you guys listening to the show. Reminder, 5 stars on Apple and Spotify. Like and subscribe to the YouTube page. That's what our effort over the off season before we get to kickoff in August is to grow this thing. What did you say the goal is? 1,000 subscribers?
1,000 subs.
1,000 subs. So let's get it done this summer. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dentist, tell everybody. We will go live also during the season. We'll go back to twice a week during the season. We will bring back the voicemails. So I was thinking too, when we get, maybe not when we get to the season, but like before the season even, maybe we have people call in and convince us why we should be betting on a certain like win total.
I like that.
That we'll play it on the show and then we'll make an actual bet. So, all right. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Remember this week to tune in to Chris's daily podcast show, 4th and Wrong Daily. We'll have some good guests this week, and we'll be back here together every Monday. So until then, talk to you then.